Hello everyone, this is the founder of the page Grammar Chronicles. It's Sanchit Ranka over here, and today we are going to talk about hand grinders. You know, hand grinders means precision, patience, and along with that, some arm workout. And today we are going to test few of the grinders and see if they hold it up to that or not. We have in our lineup the beginner friendly Time Chestnut C2, the Racer M1, the Blade R3. They both are from MHW3 Bomber, and this one is from Mischief. So this is a Mischief M40, and I have been using these for quite a lot of time. This one was my first hand grinder which I bought. This was sent across to me by Fix Coffee India along with this, and Mischief had sent me across this grinder as well. So I have been testing them for almost 3 to 4 months on my daily brews, including pour overs and espressos, and we'll be talking about which one would be the best for you. The C2 and M1 fall under majorly for the beginners. Along with that, R3 and Mischief M40 move towards on the upper scale of the beginners, where they are at an intermediary state. Okay, so the C2 has been most preferred beginner grinder for any coffee enthusiast, and I think so 80 or 90% of them might have owned Time C2 once in their lifetime. Then coming to M1, it is kind of an underdog which has come from MHW3 Bomber, and then comes the R3 and M40. They are something which is very serious and they deliver on what they claim for. So this one has been delivering pretty good, and this one too. So we'll get deeper in detail for all of these grinders. So to make this test, first we'll be grinding the coffee. It's a 15 gram dose which I have already pre-dosed in each one of the grinders, and I'm using the same beans for all of the grinders, and we'll be timing how much time does it take me to grind at a pour over setting for each of these grinders, that 15 gram dose of coffee. So after grinding a 15 gram dose in each one of those grinders, the slowest one was the M1 grinder and the fastest one was the R3 grinder, and the grind timings were 35 seconds for the C2, for 50 seconds for the M1, 25 to 30 seconds. So I'll be honest, it was 27 seconds somewhere around that time for the R3, and around 45 seconds on the Mischief M40. So these are pretty good, but I think this one is the slowest one, the M1, and R3 being the fastest one. But it all comes down to how consistent their grinds are. Now it's time to check how consistent the grinding is. We'll start by the Timos C2. So as far as I see and I feel right now, it has more fines in the grounds, which in a pour over should not be there, and it might be creating a bit more acidity in the coffee and masking of the other tasting notes which might come out. Moving to the M1, so M1 has some big boulders in there. As compared to the consistency, it is consistent but has some bigger chunks too, so can be said as an okay for a pour over, but there are less number of fines as compared to what C2 has. Moving to the R3 right now. So R3 feels really consistent, the grinds feel really rounded off. There are not many fines in there. There are some obviously, but not very much, which can affect your brew too much on the acidity side. And in the R3 there's also a functionality that there are sieves given along where you can remove those fines from your grounds. So that's a win. Now coming to the Mischief M40. So the Mischief M40 feels really consistent. I could not see any fines as of such in there right now, but I feel it's a really good grind and very consistent. All the sizes of the grounds are very on a similar note. So I think so the Mischief M40 and R3 are very much on par at that. Now let's move to the next test. So for the next test, we'll be cupping these coffees ground from each of these grinders. Each one of them can do some level of espresso, but I have noticed over the time of use that these two can do at a beginner level good for pour overs, French press, aeropress and all the other grinders and all the other grind settings. But these two are majorly on the all-rounder range, where you can precisely even dial in your espressos, because the micron settings are very fine on in this for each clicks. So it makes much more sense for these two grinders to be more espresso enabled, where you can properly dial in your coffee. And these two can do a really good job at a price point for pour overs and other brew methods as well. So these can do that too, but these can, at that price point, would be a great option. So my coffees are prepped and they are ready to cup, and we'll start by tasting each coffee and see how it is different than the other one grinded from each different grinder. So this is highlighting more on the bitterness side, and compared to this highlights bitterness, but along with that there's a mild acidity right now. So I'm getting more on the sweeter side over here. The bitterness is very non-existent, but the acidity is not there. I'll be honest, acidity is very mild. I think so this is more on the balanced side of the coffee. Yeah, so this highlights more on the acidity side, and the sweetness is not there, but the bitterness is also non-existent. It highlights more on the acidity side. This highlights more on the balanced but sweet forward. This is like bitterness is there but acidity is there too, so maybe somewhere in between the balanced side but not so great, and this straight up just tasting bitterness. So that's how we can see how the same coffee tastes differently with different grinders at the same pour over settings. So we are at our next test today, and it's the final test between the major two contenders for espresso who are actually espresso capable. Each of the clicks are around 16 micron adjustment, so that's very precise and you can easily dial in your coffee. So I have preloaded these grinders with a 22 gram dose for each one of them, and I'll be pulling a shot of espresso from each one of them, and we'll be tasting it and seeing how different they taste for this one and this one. So after I have brewed my espressos, our espresso shots are ready, and we'll taste them and try to identify which one is really good for me as my palate likes it. But I would try to describe as much as possible about the shot of espresso. So this one is from R3. So it has a really good body. It feels very balanced. It coats the palate really well. It has more sweetness, and there's a very perceived sweetness in this particular espresso. It would pair really well with milk or even as just an espresso. I really like this. Now coming to the Mischief M40. So the body feels a bit weak over here. But still it is balanced, but it is more focused on the acidity. It has that more fruity acidity notes in there, less of sweetness, and the body is a bit on the tea side, like tea like body a bit, but it's a really good shot of espresso. If you like something on fruity coffees or something like fruity espresso notes, then definitely this can do you a really good job. And I'll just taste it once more. Perfect. So for my preference, I like more sweeter notes in the espresso. I would prefer the one from the R3 compared to the M40. This has more acidity based notes or fruity notes in there. This one has more kind of sweeter notes. So this is what I would prefer, but you can always choose based upon your preference. I hope you found this video very informational and something which will help you choose your grinder. So make your choice. In case if you have any doubts, you can always reach out to me on DM over Instagram or just leave a comment below in the video. Happy brewing!